This morning, very early, Karen Boland and I were having our early morning mastermind meeting. I was preparing to come here to put together the notes that would be used in this lesson that I'm sharing with you this evening. And we were seated at the table, and she had just poured a cup of coffee for me. And she said, "How would you like for me to read you a poem by Robert Frost?" And I said, "Probably not." I said that in the sweetest way that I knew how, and she said, "I think you would like it." And I said, "I would love to hear it." And as it turned, as is so often the case, it really was the mastermind using Karen, or frequently one of you, to speak to me. God speaks to us through us. I know you're aware of that. I did not know that God would speak to me through Robert Frost this morning early, but God did. The road not taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if ever I should come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made the difference. The road less traveled. Are you aware that every day of your existence, you stand at that fork in the road? The tendency is to take the one to the left, the other one, the beaten path. Sometimes we call it the low road because of what we find upon it. And yet, if you should view them both standing at the fork, they would appear to be the same. The road less traveled is really not a path that our feet shall take. It is a choice we make. It is the choice we make when we reach the point in our eternal unfolding that we become aware that we are other beings or spiritual beings, or that we are of another dimension, of another world, that there's more to us than we have experienced or more than has met the eye. There's something in us that is urging us to break away, to break out, to escape the ordinariness of our lives or the tedium. But frequently we are forced along that path, not because we would have made the choice, but because of the circumstances that cause us, that almost shuttle us to that side. But always the choice is ours. And I am absolutely certain that this is why you and I are here this evening, to make that same choice or reconfirm a choice already made, or to become excited about the journey that we're taking, or to share with other persons the excitement, even the ecstasy that we have found by taking the other road. And I will not call it the higher road, because that would imply that those who take that other, the road less traveled, are better than those who do not. This is not a matter of being better. It is not a matter of being religious. But it is a matter of becoming willing to become a more disciplined person, one who is willing to practice a system of ideas that force us out of our old ideas, and ideas that will force us out of our old identity, because you cannot take this road and ever be the same person that you were before you began to travel that path. You will change because you will be changed, and the people that walk that path are also people who are out of the ordinary. They will be changed, and when you choose to walk the road less traveled, by that very choice, you will discover that you are walking away from some of the dearest people that you have ever known. And they will pull at you and hold you, and they cannot join you, and they would keep you from following the way your heart would take you. But oh, the excitement that begins to come when you discover the things that can only be found upon that path. The discovery that you're a spiritual being, a mental being, that the universe is alive, and that you are an incredibly created and a remarkably formed person with possibilities that you did not know before. And more than that, that you now have choices you did not have before. And the ability to change your destiny by changing your thinking. And one more step. It's not just you changing your thinking, it is you connecting with a thinking, with a power, with an intelligence that is responsive, an intelligence greater than you. Before we have our actual mastermind meeting tonight, I'd like to share with you a few letters to sort of set the mood, the tone, the consciousness that's here. Now, here's a letter that I just received. Jack, I was very touched when I received your gift of the Mastermind Goal Achievers book and the journal in the mail. And they were very much appreciated because at the time I did not have the funds to make the purchase, and I wanted to have my own special Mastermind Goal Achievers book. I also have a gift to give you in gratitude for all the amazing miracles that your love and words have helped to bring about in my life, most of which you will never know. And she had some kind things to say. Now, my gift to you is Jason. I have a picture of Jason. Of the countless miracles that I have been allowed to see, he is the one I will most remember. Jack, do you remember the Sunday I stopped in to see you on my way to the hospital? Now let me pause here and tell you that this letter is written by a young woman who is a medical student, just about to graduate and become an intern, and go on to her residency and be a physician. She's a remarkable person, and I love her dearly. And on this particular day, she stopped by the church on her way to work that morning at Children's Hospital. It was about 8 o'clock, long before most of you who attend the first service arrived. And she said, I stopped by because I think this is going to be a great day in my life. She and I held hands just outside the kitchen. We had a short but very powerful, unforgettable to me, mastermind meeting in which all the love that I felt and the joy that I'd taken her in her life just reached the surface, and I knew that she was and would always be a true healer, not just in the medical sense, but a woman, a physician of great love, whose very presence in a room would quicken the spirit of the patient there. That's the way I felt about her and the way I feel about her. Now, let me read you the rest of the letter. My gift to you is Jason. Of the countless miracles that I have been allowed to see, he is the one I will most remember. If you remember the Sunday I stopped to see you on my way to the hospital, we could both sense something very special about to take place that day. But I had no idea. Jason was a severely battered child who was received at Children's Hospital in a coma. When I got him as my patient, I realized that he was also blind and deaf after the trauma of being battered. He was afraid of people, wouldn't play, and he would barely eat. Now, I had no intention of performing a healing in the spiritual sense for him, nothing so dramatic. I was just determined not to give up, not to settle for things as they were for Jason. That just was not good enough for such a sweet little soul. And so I poured as much love into that little boy as he could hold, and then some. I played with him and I prayed with him every spare moment, and I fed him, I changed him, and I tried to read through and reach his mind with my love and with the perfection that I saw in him. He had to wait for the spoon to touch his cheek before he knew that food was near. He waited for tenderness before he could relax his tense little body, and every day I rang bells near his ears to see if he could hear. No results. But on that Sunday morning, I walked into his room expecting that he would not know that I was there until I picked him up, as had been our routine. And I was in awe when he looked at me right in the face and smiled one of the most beautiful smiles that I had ever seen, and I will never forget. He reached up his arms for me and laughed, and all I could do was to take him in my arms and whisper a prayer of thanks and cry. And as I looked at the end of his crib, I saw a biblical bookmark taped to his bars which said, Jason, which means healing. I've often wondered since that day about the power of healing. All the answers to my questions haven't come yet, but one thing I do know is that the most important part is the love and the willingness and the channel through which spirit may touch another. Another important aspect, I've been told, is anonymity, and I know you will understand. There's no need to bring public attention to me, and I would not do that. Do you believe that this young woman is destined to be one of the most incredible physicians in our society? Do you believe it? Do you feel it? If you feel that way, indicate that you do by nodding your head. She will be a healer, the great tradition of medicine, but also a healer in that great tradition of the Spirit of God working through people, beholding, loving and caring and nurturing and nursing and calling forth the perfection of every person that she touches. Do we believe that for her? We are her powerful mastermind partners. And you'll be pleased to know that she sits in your midst tonight. She's one of you. Karen, would you and Lenore and Michael Smith come and join me here? And we will have our special mastermind meeting. And as you come, as your mastermind partner, I'm going to remind us all that the purpose of masterminding is really to raise our own consciousness. And so I want those of you who are here in the audience and those who are listening on tape to let your own minds and hearts be lifted up in the very same way that we will be. And as the chairperson, as the chairman of this meeting, I would say to each of us that we've come together to share in a mastermind meeting because every time that I've been with you, Michael Smith and Lenore Tucci and Karen Boland and all of you who are my dear friends with whom I live in the fellowship of the Spirit of life. Every time we come together, believing in each other and believing in God, the most incredible things happen to me. My life changes, my outlook changes, my world begins to change. I feel things that I would not have felt. I experience remarkable insights into my life, into myself, into the world around me. And I never cease to experience a flow of energy and power and direction and guidance that is superior to anything that I've known before. So, as your mastermind sponsor, I'm going to take the first step, and then I'll ask each of you to join me in that first step. I admit that of myself I am powerless to solve my own problems, powerless to improve my life, and that I need help. I not only need the help of God, the power of God, the wisdom of God, but I need to have persons like you in my life, people who can see me, can see through my imperfections, and can believe for me the things that I cannot believe for myself. Karen, do you join me in the step of surrendering, admitting that you need help to change your life?
I do. I need help.
Lenore?
Yes, I do. I need help.
Michael?
I willingly join you and admit that I need help also.
I now come to believe that a power greater than myself, the infinite creative intelligence, the mastermind, is responding to me in a special way. Responding to me in the very same way that our young medical student, who is soon to be a doctor, responded to young Jason. Jason was helpless and powerless and beaten. And someone came to him and loved him and picked him up and cared for him and nurtured him and nursed him and believed in him and came back again and again, asking nothing in return. And I believe that the Spirit of the universe is doing the very same thing for me and for you, Karen, and for you, Lenore, and for you, Michael, and for every person who hears our voices. Do you believe that, Karen?
I do believe that.
Do you, Lenore?
I believe that.
I
Michael?
also believe that, yes.
I now realize that my own erroneous self-defeating thinking has been the cause of my problems, my failures, my unhappiness and fears. And I'm ready to have my belief system completely altered so that my life can be transformed. Karen, do you admit that your problems have been self-created and you're willing to have them released?
I know they have been self-created. I am willing to release them all and have my life transformed.
Lenore?
Yes, I desire to have my entire life transformed.
Michael?
I also realize that I have been the cause of my problems and willingly am willing to have them removed.
Step number 4. I make a decision to turn my life over to the care of the mastermind, surrendering my will and my false beliefs. And I ask to be changed at depth. This is a decision that I make. I'm no longer willing to wait to be changed. I make that decision now. Karen, do you make that same decision?
I make that decision right now.
Lenore?
I make that decision to be changed at depth.
Michael?
Again, I decide to be changed at depth.
And those of you who are in our listening audience at this moment, if you can take step number 1, the surrendering step, indicate that you do by nodding your head. And step number 2, coming to believe that the mastermind, God as you understand God, is responding to you and to each person here. Indicate that you do by nodding your head. Do you also realize that your erroneous self-defeating thinking has been the cause of your problems, and are you willing to release your false belief system and be changed at depth? And if you are, indicate that you are by nodding your head. Now, this is the step that separates the sincere from those who may not be. I forgive myself for all the mistakes that I have made. From the time of my birth, I am willing to release, to let go, to let go of all guilt, blame, criticism, and the resulting low self-image that I've developed. Karen, are you willing to forgive yourself?
Yes, I forgive myself for the wrongs that I have committed to myself and to anyone else who has been in my life.
Lenore?
I forgive myself for all of the things I have done and that I failed to do.
Michael?
I forgive all persons and accept the blame for everything that's happened in my life, and at the same time, very willingly forgive myself.
Michael just touched on the next part of the step. It's very important to forgive every other person. Jesus, the master teacher in these principles of the mind, said, before you pray, before you ask for anything, before you attempt to take a step in the direction of your own good, make sure that you have forgiven all other persons. As a matter of fact, the Lord's Prayer states, forgive us as, in the exact manner, to the exact extent that we have forgiven all other persons. And I can tell you that as the leader of this mastermind group, that I truly forgive every human being who lives on this planet or who has ever lived on this planet for anything that they have ever done to me or have failed to do for me. Karen, do you also forgive all others?
I forgive all others. I truly do.
Lenora?
Yes, I forgive all other persons.
Michael?
I also forgive all persons.
Those of you who are in our listening audience, do you forgive yourself and every other person? And if you do, indicate that you do by nodding your head. That's great. Now, one of the exciting privileges and really responsibilities of masterminding is making your own personal demonstration. And sometimes your demonstrations will take the form of a miracle. I believe that what happened to Jason was a miracle of masterminding. I believe that the power that began to work in his life with the spirit of love coming into his experience through two or more other persons who were interested in his behalf. And so therefore, it's important that we, our mastermind partners, present to each other certain desires, needs that we have, things that we are willing to begin to believe that can happen to us. I've discovered that over the years that I simply cannot sustain the power of belief necessary for me to make the demonstrations that I need in life without the help of two or more other persons who are my mastermind partners. And I believe that nothing great has ever been achieved and maintained on this planet without the practicing of the mastermind principle. Do you believe that, Michael and Lenore and Karen? Do you?
Oh, absolutely. I would say more, but the time doesn't allow me to.
Well, Karen, we're going to turn to you. Each of your mastermind partners are going to focus our attention on you, Michael and Lenore and all of the other people gathered here. And you will share with us one or more things that you desire, that you need in your life. And as you speak with great sincerity, we're going to believe with you and for you that your dream, your goal, your objective is happening. So would you share with us what you would have happen?
Yes. Many of you know that I'm the director of the Children's Church, and we need a whole curriculum. Just like there is a curriculum for the elementary school system and the secondary school system, we need to write our own curriculum. We're the flagship church, and our Children's Church is the flagship of all Sunday schools. But I know that I cannot do it. So I am asking the mastermind to write through our pens this whole curriculum. I
believe that it will happen to you just in the very same way that the dissertation of the young graduate student that had occurred. As a matter of fact, everything that you're talking about already exists. You are already using and practicing and teaching the principles. Now what needs to be done is that they need to be put in written form. Are you willing to go into action?
Yes.
You're willing to go into action?
Yes.
Then I believe for you that it will be done. Do you believe, Lenore, and Michael, that what Karen has asked is happening?
I have masterminded with Karen for a long time, and I've never known anything that you tackle that hasn't gotten done. And I believe this will be done, and it'll be done first class.
It always comes to pass, doesn't it?
Thank you.
I likewise believe that when Karen asks, it is the mastermind's great pleasure to respond in the most beautiful, powerful way.
Karen, I happen to know that you have another dream and desire that you have not asked for, and it's a personal one, and it has to do with redecorating your apartment that happens to be our apartment. And that you have a vision. As a matter of fact, more than a vision, you and the decorator have looked at some plans and other things. Is that correct? But you haven't found all the pieces of furniture and all of the drapings and other things that need to fit there, and it's been somewhat frustrating. Is this true? All right. Would you like to see the whole thing come together in just a smashing way? The perfect selection of all the bits and pieces coming together? Would you like that?
I would love that.
Now.
I would love that.
Everybody here has a feeling of what you're talking about, because in some corner of every person's life, we are trying to put together a package of ideas. So all of us believe for you that your heart's design is already achieved, it's already accomplished, that every piece, every decoration, every piece of furniture, everything that you need already exists or is at this very moment being designed and created, and it will be in place in our home in a very short time. Now, I believe that. I release you to do the shopping, but I believe it.
Well, I believe it, and when it's done, which will be real soon, you're all invited.
Come over to our house. Now let's turn our attention to Lenore Tucci, and remembering that when you're masterminding, not only do the things that you ask occur, but 1,000 things that you would not know to ask come to pass. Remember that for yourselves in masterminding. The remarkable things that occur are not just what you speak about, but things that you would not know to ask. Could Jason have asked for Jason? But before Jason could even know to ask, our Heavenly Father had made provision. Is that true? It's true for us. So, Lenore, what would you have? What is your heart's desire?
I've been involved in the program of change for a number of years. And at this time, there's a great desire in me to exceed where I'm at inside myself and to reach a new level of personal growth and to be free of a lot of mechanical responses, fears to change, prosperity, the lack of prosperity, the fear of moving ahead in the area of prosperity. I've seen some ideas that prosperity, if I have enough to get by, I'm prosperous. And I'm realizing that God didn't intend that at all. He intends a lot more. And I want to be free of my old ideas about that so I could really burst forth and experience life in its fullest in every area and to have a consistency of strength in my identity.
As you're speaking, I have just the remarkable belief that what you've asked for is already occurring. That this process of continued change, as you have stated it, is now your gift. And you are set free from the concepts that have limited you and the fears that have kept you rigid, pockets of unreleased emotion. Is that true? What's this tear I see in your eye, Lenore? That's great. Look, Karen and Michael, look at Lenore, and as you look at her, love her, and believe in her and for her. And you join me in knowing with just absolute certainty that this hunger of her heart is granted her. Do you believe it? Do all of you believe
Yes.
for Lenore?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I happen to know Lenore quite well. We work together every day. And I know that she has a personal desire that she has not stated. I'll put it in my words, okay? Our desire for you, which is really your own desire for yourself, Lenore, put it in my words, is that all of those things that need to be changed, that will result in your early marriage, are immediately falling into place, as if the hand of God is working to create your world as you desire it to be, so that you will walk hand in hand, not only with God and with your mastermind partners, but with that special person in your life.
You have a way with words.
Now, tell me, I am not imposing my will upon you. This would be...
That's true, you're not.
Karen and Michael, do you believe? Does everyone here believe for Lenore? The reason I mention these things is that in a mastermind meeting, we don't hesitate to share those more intimate or secret needs that exist in our hearts. And sitting before this large group and cassette audience, we might have a tendency to not, to talk about churches and monasteries and things, and I thought we would get down to some of the basics of living, to touch at the center of our living. Do you believe it will happen, Lenore?
I believe it will happen. I know it will.
I believe I'll stand right there, perform your wedding ceremony. And all of you are invited. Karen invites you to our apartment when it's finished, and Lenore invites you to her wedding when it takes place. How's that? Now you watch what happens. Michael Smith, what exciting things have been happening in your life, and what new and great and significant events would you have take place?
Well, Jack, I'm just thrilled to be a part of this mastermind consciousness with so many beautiful people. I know remarkable things are going to come of it. And I first want to give thanks for my life and all the marvelous things that are going on, which, next to Jack Boland, I think I live almost the best life that could happen. We're in probably the most exciting period, business-wise, that we've ever been in. We are having an opportunity to quote on millions and millions of dollars worth of new business for future years. And Jack and I have been masterminding on a regular basis, and it is gradually beginning to unfold. And that would be my mastermind request, that those orders, the work that is ideally suited for us, be attracted and be our work. And obviously, we're not going to get everything, and so that those things that are not necessary for us not be there, but mainly that we see the significant increase in business that is a possibility at this point in time.
It's important to point out, not for us who are your mastermind partners on this platform, but for others who are here, that Michael Smith is a man in business, but who is totally dedicated to the life of the Spirit and shares of his substance and of his life with all the world around him. Your employees are the best paid, the best cared for, the best provided for of any group of people that I know, Michael. And so I mention this to you because Michael is fulfilling the conditions that make it easy and natural and possible for the mastermind to work in your life. Now, I want all of us to focus our attention on Michael Smith and see him only as a channel for the opulence of God, the good that is there. Knowing that everything that you ask is being granted, heaped up, pressed down, and running over. And not just for you, but so that you can be of maximum service to God and to your fellow man. Is that your true desire? Is that your heart's desire, Michael?
That is my true heart's desire.
Do you believe that? Does everyone here believe it? Now, believe that this series of serendipitous events are happening for Michael. And the moment that you really believe it, indicate that you do by nodding your head. Do you believe it for Michael? Lenore?
I believe it for Michael.
Karen? You feel it, Michael?
Very much.
You have had an experience that has been denied most of the people upon this earth. And that is to sit in a mastermind group with many hundreds of people who believe for you beyond your ability to believe for yourself. It's done. It's my turn. I was thinking earlier, because I wanted to take full advantage of the concentrated energy and love and faith that is focused in the sanctuary tonight. And I wanted to ask for something that would be the most important thing, for the thing that my heart really desires above all other things. Because I believe it's going to happen to me. And I feel that it's happening now. For a long time in the building of this church, I'm going to use the word burden and then push it aside. The burden, the primary responsibility for the causing of funds to come to us has been upon my shoulders. That has been the natural order of things, and I've accepted it, and I still do. And I don't want to be standing up here regularly, and I hope I never have, and I never shall, asking you for money, and that's not what I'm doing tonight. This is not a request for money. But it is a request that you, who are my mastermind partners, will see and feel and understand that my most important need as the person who is primarily in charge of this experience that we call our church, which is not built yet. We're still in the process. An example is that we need to install a $35,000 addition to our air conditioning system so that you'll be comfortable this summer, and we have to do it now. And there is another $50,000 that has to be spent somewhere else, and we don't have the funds for that. And yet we do, if our belief system is correct. We don't have it in the bank account, but we have it in consciousness. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so I ask you to join with me the feeling of absolute certainty, believing that this congregation, this body of called out people, and that this entity that we call the Church of today is fully funded, fully cared for, just like Jason. And everything that Jason needs is provided for Jason, and everything that this church needs is provided for it, because it is in this place that many people are touched and helped. We do not need a cathedral that reaches to the sky, but we need an adequate place that we can all gather, and that the people who have not yet arrived can come and be with us. Do you have a feeling? Okay. This desire is so important to me. That I can hardly believe it for myself. I need your support, your belief. And let me put it in these words. This is what I'm asking. This is all background to this moment. This is what I'm asking for. I'm asking that the Church of today will have so much money that we'll have to have another mastermind meeting like this to figure out ways to spend it. It is done. It will happen. It will happen through us, and it will happen through people that we have not yet discovered, people who have not come here. It will happen through all of us, each in our own way, and it will happen in very large ways, and I know it. It is not for us to know how, but it is for us to know that it will be achieved and accomplished, and I know that this is true. Now, what has happened here on this platform and in this group, and to those listening, is that we have reestablished a covenant. A covenant is a contract. It's an agreement. The Spirit that created us, the Creator, formed a covenant in the beginning. And that covenant stated would be that I am with you. Everything that you need will be provided. As long as we are connected in consciousness, as long as you believe and fulfill the conditions, I am with you. That's a contract. And I believe that we have reformed that contract, and so therefore we are not in an ordinary human state, but in an extraordinary state of beingness, promised in all of the scriptures, all of the great religions. I also believe that as we walk out away from each other this evening, that we do not walk away because we're still one. Friends, mastermind partners. And each time that I think of you, and I will think of you, my partners, often, and you, I will remember and believe and feel and know that your desires, those that you have stated and those that are the secret ones in your heart and those that you do not even know about, are being granted by that power. You see, as we step forth from here, the mastermind shall continue to supply us with an abundance of all things necessary to live a success-filled and happy life, so long as we remain an open channel of the will of God and dedicate ourselves to be of maximum service to our fellow man. It's important that we go out of here tonight willing to set the highest example for others to follow. And it's also good to know that we can go forth with a spirit of enthusiasm, of excitement, and expectancy. Is that the way you feel? Are you excited about your life? Do you believe that your good is on its way? Then you can go your way rejoicing, because that's the way it really is. God bless you.
This concludes the final tape in this series entitled Masterminding, The Way to Success and Happiness by Jack Boland.